everybody, and welcome back to another video. Recently I did a poll in my community tab asking you guys if you've read the Wings of Fire Winglets. For those of you who don't know, Tui has created 4 short stories, known as Winglets, about the past of different Wings of Fire characters. And honestly, I was still shocked to see just how many of you haven't read them, or heard of them even. Now, they're not novels or anything, but they are great additions to the world of Wings of Fire. So I thought it only right to give them their own video summarizing why you should go check them out, even if you've already read them. This video is going to be spoiler-free for the Winglets themselves, so no worries. But before I begin, a huge shout out to my patrons. Drag1195, 3 Moons, Slightest Wild, and Bombier. Thank you all so much for supporting me. Links to their social medias are in the description down below. Anyways, without further ado, let's get into the video. Like I said earlier, the Winglets are short stories set in the Wings of Fire universe. Each one focuses on 1 or 2 different characters we've seen, usually ones that didn't have a lot of page time. They delve deep into this character's history, telling a story from the past. But each one takes place before the main series, with the exception of the first. You can buy each Winglet separately online as an e-copy, but the only way to get them physically is if you buy the Winglet Quartet book, which contains all 4 of the ones released so far. Unfortunately, it's been 7 years since the last Winglet was released, so I don't think we're going to be getting any more. But who knows? Maybe Tui will bring these back. Now, let's get into talking about each Winglet and why I like them. The first to be released was Prisoners, and it's told through back-and-forth notes between Fierceteeth, Starflight's sister, and Sagaro, a Sandman guard turned rebel. Fierceteeth writes to her while in her cell, reminiscing upon her life, and original plans for the future. From how life was the Dragonette to how she met Strong Wings, her dreams of being queen, this land is just full of tons of interesting content. I really love how well written the relationship between Fierceteeth and Strong Wings was here. Beforehand, we didn't really know a lot about either of them, especially together. This Winglet dives deep into a character I never thought I'd be interested in. It really gives Fierceteeth some depth, telling stories about what it was like to live during those times on the volcano. Prisoners gets a lot of unnecessary hate in my opinion. I really enjoyed getting this insight into the past of WAF, and little did I know this wasn't even the start of the fantastic Winglets. Up next is Assassin, which is an ultimate fan favorite. If you like Deathbringer and the Nightwings, then you're bound to like this Winglet as well. You follow the story of how Deathbringer became an assassin, and though it's full of action-packed adventures, suspense, and high stakes that literally change Wings of Fire as we know it, there are actually some really heartfelt moments in here. It's quite the emotional roller coaster, to say the least. And I'll certainly have you on the edge of your seat, excited to learn more about the Nightwings were during the war under all their secrecy. I can totally understand why this one is so beloved in the fandom. Going back to underrated Winglets, the next one to be released was Deserter, which recounts some of Sixclaw's and Dune's history. If you love the War of Sanding Succession and the Sanding as a whole, then you're going to adore this Winglet. The story features many events before and during the war, even as the 3 Sanding sisters were just being born. You get to see a lot surrounding Oasis's life and death, as well as how everything happened affected the tribe. And of course, at the center of it all is Sixclaw, one of the most underrated and beloved side characters in the books. It was such a breath of fresh air to get to see things from his perspective, and we even get more of Dune, the Dragon of Destiny Guardian, who died too soon. This Winglet is just loaded with interesting lore, culture, and characters, telling us more about the near history of Wings of Fire from a whole different perspective. And the last Winglet to have been released is yet another fan favorite, Runaway. Are you obsessed with Darkstar Legends and everything else around that time? Well, you're in luck, because this Winglet tells us a whole lot more about Arctic and Foeslayer, perfectly setting up that Legends book. Want to read about a forbidden love story in the beginnings of disaster? It's full of drama, awesome imagery, wonderful characters, and literally anything you could ask for. We get so much insight into the Ice Wings especially, setting up a storyline that would change Wings of Fire for thousands of years to come. And, fun fact, Runaway is the earliest WAF story in the timeline. All the Winglets I've talked about here are totally worthy of being checked out. So, if you're ever in the mood for Wings of Fire content while I wait for what's coming next, go give them a read. Or check them out again, because they're even better than you remember, trust me. And hey, while you're at it, help me petition for even more Winglets in the future. And that's the end of this video. Which Winglet is your favorite, and has this convinced you to go read them? Let me know down below. None of the winglets are lengthy because they're all just short stories. Shortest is Prisoners at 32 pages and Assassin at 51, yet they fit in so much. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.